Yeah, man. You know what? I'm well into being accessible. Like, I actively made the choice for Freak Slug to be accessible.
Mm.
I used to make really lo-fi stuff that wasn't so accessible and like really like grungy and gritty and like cool for me. But I know that the world isn't cool, like doesn't have the taste for it necessarily, and I'm cool with that. Like, I'd rather my music be heard by more and make it more accessible than not. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that is something that I actively like have been aiming for.
Hi, this is Jeremy Shatton from An Earful, and welcome back to Discover Music with An Earful. This is monthly listening for October 2024, and you just heard a little taste of the live wire interview I had with Xenia Genovese, aka Freak Slug. We talk all about her new upcoming album, Crazy Cat Dancing, life-changing sleepovers. It's a fantastic interview, and it's going to come up later in the show. First, we have some recordings to get to, and also live concerts, which is what we're going to talk about coming back after the break. First concert of October was at the Woodside Theater in David Geffen Hall to see the New York Philharmonic. Hadn't been there since last May, so a while. But I was not going to miss this concert. It featured the New York premiere of Natalie Joachim's Cello Concerto, performed by Seth Parker Woods. These are both people I have talked about quite a bit. The name of the concerto was Had to Be, and it was just a remarkable piece. Seth Parker Woods is the ideal interpreter in a piece that was by turns elegiac, somber, lively, translucent, powerful. So many different things were going on there. I have to say that Joachim's use of the orchestra felt extremely original. Very little of the textures and ways she assembled things felt familiar, but it felt all from the heart and just absolutely beautiful. Now, the night was part of the New York Phil's series Exploring Afro-Modernism, so we got to hear three other pieces by Black composers, starting with Carlos Simon. His Requiem for the Enslaved was a remarkable piece, and we heard something very different from him, Four Black American Dances, 2023 piece that the New York Phil played in Central Park last summer. I would have liked to see that. It's a really great piece, filled with color and lively rhythms, so many details and things going on. I just felt that the orchestra was his playground. He really knows what he's doing, and it had people applauding right after the first movement, which we continued to do throughout the concert. It was a lively night that way. After Joachim and the intermission, we heard a piece called COSBRO, which is an acronym for Keep on Steppin' Brothers. This was a piece by David Baker, composed in 1975, and it was a total blast. I've never heard of David Baker, and he supposedly composed 2,000 pieces for orchestra. Now, I've yet to find another one that had the total package like this piece did, but you can go on and find recordings of COSBRO. It's so good. And finally, we heard William Grant Still's Symphony No. 4, Autochthonous, which was composed in 47, premiered in 51, but never played by the New York Philharmonic. This was its New York Phil debut, and they did a beautiful job with it. It's a great piece. He really is a composer that I love to hear, and I just feel like I've neglected him a bit because I've really only listened to the Symphony No. 2. There are some recordings of Symphony No. 4, and I'm going to get to all of it. He was a great composer. So that was our night at Lincoln Center, October 17th. What a wonderful, incredible performance. Everybody was great. The conductor, Thomas Wilkins, whose main gig seems to be principal conductor of the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra in California. Does a lot of different things. He's a great conductor, elegant, economical, precise, engaged. I really enjoyed watching him. Kudos to the New York Philharmonic for putting on this fantastic show. When we come back, another concert that was deeply moving by the artist that made possibly my number one record of 2024. Of course, I was talking about Cassandra Jenkins, whose album My Light, My Destroyer is unquestionably one of the best of the year, unquestionably the best of her career. And she played most of it at the Music Hall of Williamsburg on October 30th, and most of the previous album, An Overview on Phenomenal Nature, which in so many ways was a rebirth for her as an artist. The two albums combined just create an impeccable series of songs. She absolutely performed them with grace and beauty. Her band has been on the road for a while and they sounded fantastic, especially guitarist Adam Brisbane, who you can hear him let it rip on Clams Casino on My Light, My Destroyer, but he was great throughout the night. And there was even a special performance of the song Petco, which sandwiched in the Ramones' Pet Cemetery and brought in Elle Kempner from Palehound on guitar. That was a fun time. It was just a great show. She's a wonderful performer, warm, engaged, witty, just owning the room and putting on a great concert. Wonderful show from Cassandra Jenkins. I know I've spoken about My Light, My Destroyer before on the podcast, and this is definitely not the last time you'll be hearing about it this year. When we come back, recordings. Before we get into the first recording this month, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The way I organize this podcast, the sequencing of the pieces and the recordings that you hear is based on how I listen to music throughout the day. Not every single day, but most days, especially on a work day, I will start listening to classical music and then electronic music, and gradually the energy will ramp up with hip hop and rock. And sometimes by the end of the day, I'm maybe back to some slightly lower temperature folk sounds, but that's kind of what we're doing here. So it's an ebb, it's a flow, and this month is no different. We are going to start with an epic masterpiece from John Luther Adams, who specializes in such things. His latest recording is an Atlas of Deep Time, recorded by the South Dakota Symphony Orchestra, and it is just an incredible piece. I relate it in form to the great Become trilogy, Become River, Become Desert, Become Ocean. However, unlike those pieces which were driven a bit by a kind of predictive anxiety about the direction the planet was headed in, this one goes literally a little deeper. As he said, it's grounded in his desire, amid the turbulence of human affairs, to hear the older, deeper resonances of the earth. As I put it in my A Song for Friday, where I included this piece, he's singing the earth geologic, and you can hear an excerpt of it right now. I hope that brief excerpt of An Atlas of Deep Time by John Luther Adams will compel you to listen to the whole piece, remarkable 41 minutes of continuous music, and continuously amazing. We're going to bring it down to one instrument now from the symphony orchestra, Patrick Yim's One, New Music for Unaccompanied Violin. This is a beautiful album featuring a number of composers with whom I was unfamiliar. Larry Kyla, Juri Seo, Takuma Ito, Matthew Schreibeis, and John Liberatore. I have heard of Paul Ragnar Paulsen, however, whose Atonement was a highlight of 2020. But this album is just a gorgeous exploration of the solo violin, and I found it deeply involving right from the beginning. So that's where we're going to start, with Larry Kyla's Solitude. You'll hear an excerpt of that right now. That was an excerpt of Larry Kyla's Solitude from Patrick Yim's One, New Music for Unaccompanied Violin, a really gorgeous album. You never know that it was recorded in many different places in 2023, in many different studios. It all flows together seamlessly. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, in June, I featured Lailahua Lanzolotti's album, The Sky in Our Hands in the Sky. And normally I wouldn't feature the same artists so close together. However, their new album, Forever Forward in Search of the Beautiful, is such a knockout and possibly their most accessible album ever. I just think the variety here is dazzling. The use of different instruments, different sources of text, just an absolutely incredible record. And with accessibility, a little bit of the theme of the show, I really wanted you to hear it. So we're going to hear an excerpt of To Drink Into My Eyes, The Shine, which is the first of 3 songs based on lines from poetry by Edna St. Vincent Millay. The song cycle was composed for the performers, who in this case are Joanna Novum, Baroque violin, and Jesse Blumberg, baritone. They played it at their wedding, and it is just so great. I'm not sure I've ever heard anything quite like this from Lailahua. Now, in the liner notes, I learned a new word, which is bariolage, which is the alternating of 2 strings in a very quick fashion to create a storm of sound. And you're going to hear a little bit of that in this, To Drink Into My Eyes, The Shine, from the Of Moments song cycle by Lailahua Lanzolotti.
Your flower against my lips, and then your hands above my heart. You laughed, drew down its stem into a fascinating.
to Drink Into My Eyes, The Shine by Lailahu Lanzalotti from their song cycle of Moments. Just a beautiful, beautiful piece from their album Forever Forward in Search of the Beautiful. That's a mission statement right there, and the album hits that over and over again. Just absolutely incredible. We're going to take a little break and come back with some different sounds in just a moment on Discover Music with an Earful. Next, we have two albums that fall into the general category of electronic music, starting with Snowdrops. This is the duo of Christine Ott and Mathieu Gabri. We heard from them last year in a trio format as The Cry. Snowdrops is a bit different from that. It can be ambient, it can be monumental, it's just gorgeous stuff. You will hear Ott playing the Ondas Martineau, an early electronic instrument of which she is a master. Gabri plays piano, keyboards, electric hurdy-gurdy, and vibraphone. You'll also hear an accordion on the track I'm going to play, which is called Linea de Mica, from Snowdrops right now on Discover Music with an Earful. That was Linea de Mica by Snowdrops from their album Singing Stones, Volume 1. I'm looking forward to Volume 2. Next, we have a fascinating album by Lisa Schonberg. The name of the album is Old Growth Playback, and that is a title that can be taken literally as it's part of a project she composed as an artist in residence at the H.J. Andrews Experimental Forest, a biological research station in the Oregon Cascades. There's also an accompanying art book, which I'm very intrigued by, but the album, as you can imagine, features field recordings combined with electronics and other production techniques. The track we're going to hear is called Floodplain Restoration. The creek restores itself. And in keeping with the theme I mentioned earlier, this is definitely the most accessible track on the album. The other ones are a bit more abstract, but it's all incredible stuff. It's a really impressive collection from Lisa Schonberg. So here comes Floodplain Restoration from the album Old Growth Playback. Wasn't that just so cool? Lisa Schonberg's floodplain restoration from her album Old Growth Playback. Really fascinating stuff. Just a great collection. I'm also looking forward to checking out some of her earlier stuff, like the album Sonic Therapies for Toxic Relations. That's from 2022, but it sounds like the theme is timeless. Speaking of timeless themes, Atlas, the debut album from Charlotte Jacobs, has ancient myths in its DNA. The song cycle uses electronics and acoustic instruments in its settings. It crosses over from classical to electronic to pop. Björk is definitely an influence, but there's nothing slavish about this record. For one thing, Jacobs has an intimate voice. Feels like she's singing to herself, or maybe just to you, and it draws you in to her songs. We're going to hear an excerpt from Pan from Charlotte Jacobs' Atlas. That was Pan by Charlotte Jacobs from her debut album, Atlas. There's a lot of variety on this album. Some sections are almost ambient, chill out stuff, and then it gets quite dramatic, as you heard there. Jacobs sings in Dutch and English, and I really think she's made an impressive debut here. So get to the rest of the album as soon as you can. Now, before we get to the more song-based part of our episode, we're going to talk about songs with Xenia Genovese of Freak Slug. We're going to talk through every song on her upcoming debut album, I Blow Out Big Candles, which comes out November 8th. And we're going to talk about a life-changing sleepover, crazy cat dancing with her mom, and just what motivates Freak Slug and who she is. Let's get right to it in just a moment on Discover Music with an Earful. So I'm here with Xenia Genovese.
Hello.
Of Freak Slug. Tell me, where does Xenia begin and Freak Slug end, or vice versa?
Where does Xenia begin and Freak Slug end? Jeez. I think Freak Slug is probably just an extension of Xenia. Like, it's just an expression of me in a fun way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just an extension of me. Art always is an extension of the artist, isn't it? So it's me just in a more colourful, expressive, abstract way.
Right. And it also seems to be more of a band feel.
No, it's my project. People do get confused about that. So that's fine. So I've been making music alone, but I have a band who play with me live. People get that impression just because they are like family to me. So I post them a lot on my social media, but ultimately Freak Slug is my project.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the beginning, you're from Manchester, which is the ground zero for post-punk, I like to think of it, with
totally
so many great bands coming from there. And I first heard you with your super cool cover of Disorder by Joy Division.
Yeah.
Joy Division to me is
Yeah.
bedrock music, foundational stuff where there seems to be no intimidation in your approach to it. Did you just feel like you're from Manchester? I get to cover Joy Division if I
Bro,
want to?
I do not give a flying fuck. The beauty of me is I don't think about things too much. I just do it. And that's the beauty of me and what I like about myself is I've never really thought too much about things. I just do it. And then the consequences come later. Sometimes I regret things, sometimes I don't. But ultimately, I get shit done. So that's kind of cool. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I get myself into trouble as well. It's a win-win, lose-lose. You just never know. But yeah, when I was making that, I absolutely didn't think twice or anything about what the hell I was doing. I was just doing it because I just enjoyed it.
That's awesome. When you were growing up, though, was it just kind of in the air that this was the place that Joy Division and New Order and Factory Records and
I
those?
mean, yeah, man. I always say it. It was in the air. It was fucking in the air, man. You could really feel it in the streets of Manchester. I feel like that's changed now. I don't feel like it's the energy of that time is so prevalent anymore. Something else is different. It's different in Manchester now. Sadly, I do think culture is being lost bit by bit, which is unfortunate. And with that comes maybe less appreciation for the history of Manchester musically. But that's okay because I don't give a fuck. The beautiful thing is I got to see it, I got to experience it. And if other people don't, well, then it's not in their cards too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I could say the same about New York. I'm someone who moves on, though. I don't get stuck in the past.
Not at all. That's what I mean. It's like I'm glad that I got to experience it. That was part of my destiny. I was supposed to. I believe in that. So if it's not, there's always history to be made, and whatever's going on in Manchester will be iconic in the future, hopefully, because like loads of cool shit's coming out from there, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's just good vibes. It's just good vibes. So
In 2021, you made the record with Dwyer, Slow Down Babe, which I actually
yeah,
thought was more of a joint project, but now it's just under his name. Is there any
yeah.
story behind that?
Is there any story behind that? So basically, his brother is one of my really good friends. So he just so I don't know. I guess I was in my really experimental phase there, just kind of like collabing and really again not really thinking and not really giving a fuck, dude. So like I said, it doesn't really align with what Freak Slug is anymore, which is why it's just his project
Hmm.
because me just going heads first, being like, yo, let's work with everyone. And it's like, actually, nah, like that's just not always appropriate for your sound that you're actually trying to cultivate. At least now, as an older woman who's trying to cultivate a sound and actually a bit more sensible about things.
Hmm.
Um, and with a really nice manager who actually reins me in like no other manager. I love that shit. I love someone who can actually handle me. It's brilliant. So he's just like, yep, no, no. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking through, you collaborated with a number of different artists on the road to the new album, I Blow Out Big Candles.
Mhm.
Were you kind of shopping around for the right person and you landed on Alex Hedford or
Again, Andy, my manager, brilliant guy, just fucking said, yeah, let's do this. Brilliant. Bang on the money. Me and Alex got on really well, made all
yeah.
the bangers. Like me and Alex made spells straight off the bat. That was the first song we made together. And from there it's been great. I mean, some of the songs I've made alone, some of them he's joined in and yeah, I mean, it's just sort of like happens really easily and goes with the flow. That's how my life goes usually.
So do you consider this album your true debut as the artist
Yeah.
you want to be?
Yes. I feel like this is the start of Freak Slug, to be honest.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't.
I think it has huge listenability, huge potential for a big audience. And I kind of like the idea of people getting to you through this album and then they can follow those other threads in the past and feel like they're discovering, the road to it.
Yeah,
But
for
really
sure.
just digging into this new album. And you're coming to New York. Is this your first time coming to North America?
It is my first time in America and just generally in that part of the world, man. So it's going to be well exciting. Yeah, man. I think I'm just going to be really excited to meet American people. They're really hype. Like in England, everyone's dead chill and too cool for school. Do you know what I mean? Whereas in America, everyone's like, yeah, like cheering for you and shit. I think that's just going to be fun. I'm well excited to just get drunk with everyone and just have a good time.
Yeah, we'll try not to
Yeah,
stand with our arms folded while you play.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Let's see what happens. I'm sure it'll be a good laugh. I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned. I think it's just
Well,
gonna be
I can
fun.
guarantee you're playing in two of the best clubs in New York. I don't know about the
Good to
rest of
know.
New York. Yeah, Baby's All Right. It's just got the vibe. As soon as you walk in, you know that great music has happened here and you're going to make great music that night. So,
Yeah, I heard good things about Baby's All Right. Yeah,
and Union
that's
Pool is
great.
very
No.
intimate. They're both intimate places with great sound, but there's just
Mm,
something about Babies. I can't describe it. It's just one of those places where the music just drips off the walls.
really? Ooh,
Yeah,
I
no, it's
love.
fantastic.
Oh, you're getting me excited now. That's cool. Yeah, there's a few venues like that in London as well. Like there's a venue
Mhm.
called the Windmill that's quite iconic. It's been around since like 60s, 70s, and like one of my favorite bands has played there, like the Cleaners from Venus. Like
Oh
when
yeah,
he was baby boy, because I read his book and I was like, fucking hell, he's played there. I've played there. It's just lit in it. Like I love when you've gone on a stage that people you love have been on. It's just sick. Like so much energy just like culminates and it's just brilliant, man.
yeah. I actually recently learned that Billie Eilish did an early tour or an early appearance at Baby's All Right when she was just
A
starting.
real
I would have liked to be
nice.
there for that.
Yeah, yeah. Intimate. I like that.
And
Even when you're a bigger artist, just still keep it intimate sometimes is nice.
oh yeah, yeah. And so where do you see the difference between the recordings and the live show?
I mean, we just tend to just get right into the rehearsal rooms and just figure it out between us. Like some of the songs have backing track because there's only four of us and they'll have a few synths in there.
Hmm.
But we just get the drummer, bass, guitarist, me, obviously, and the other two, and get them on the mic if they feel comfortable. Uh, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they are, and yeah, it's just pretty easy to be honest. It's never too complicated. You're not making a song; you're just figuring it out live. Some of them practice before the show, and yeah, we just get in there and go for it.
That's awesome. I can only imagine it's going to be a great show, great time. You want to talk me through some of the songs on the record and just the inspirations behind them, starting with
Yeah.
Spells, which is the lead single.
Should we go through all of them?
Sure,
Yeah, is that what you want to do?
I think we could do that.
Right, you tell me the list, okay? All right, spells. Let's go. So, spells is about romance. Obviously, it's a bit raunchy. It's a bit flirty, and it's about my ex now. And yeah, it's just good vibes, like hyper energy. And I just think, yeah, it's just a cool way to start it off.
Mm.
The
And You're
single.
Ready starts off the album with
It does
great
starts off
sound.
the album, and yeah, that's about being angry, being during your period, and just feeling like you want to fight someone, and it's the full moon in in one moment, and you're just like actually not in a good space, but you have to go out and socialize because your friend's events on, for example, or whatever the hell it is. So you have to go out there, but you're not feeling good, and you feel like you could explode at any minute. And yeah, that's what the song's about.
Sexy Lemon comes on next.
that's about a blonde girl that I fancy. I'm not going to go into too much into detail about that one.
Fair enough. Be Your Girl is on there too.
That's about, yeah, clearly I write a lot of romantic songs. Um, that's about just, oh, do you know what? It's just super 90s, man. It's super 90s, the sound, nostalgic, and it's
Hmm.
one of my favorites on the album. Yeah, it's just this repetitive word or sentence. I could be yours. Can I be yours? I won't get bored. And that's just the whole song. And it's just like drilling in this idea of not getting bored, even though you're being boring by repeating the same phrase over and over again. But you know what I mean? It's like seeing somebody over and over, you still wouldn't get bored after years because blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? They're like, wow, for
Yeah.
example. Sorry, I'm on a mad one today because I've basically been on a crazy shop to the charity shop and I've been running up and down. And when I'm active, it hypes me up. So I've been like DVD shopping.
Oh, DVD.
And yeah,
What are
so
you buying on DVD?
oh, no, I've just been really happy with what I've got there. 5 DVDs for £1. I'm really happy because I've just got all the classics. And all I ever want to watch with films is classic films, as in 2000 shit. So yeah, that's just such a side note. But yeah, I'm just letting you know I'm hyper.
Well, the energy is radiating off the screen. I love it.
Really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, what's the next
Let's
single?
see, we could go with
Oh,
Getaway.
Getaway, yeah. I wrote that. Let me think about that. Yeah, I wrote that again. It mentions birds, and I've got a real connection to birds. It's developed over the last 2 years, and just being free like a bird, almost like when you're in a relationship and you don't want anybody else's energy to be on it, and you just want to get away and completely escape from anybody else's thoughts that they might have on your relationship. You just want to be free. You just want to be pure. Do you know what I mean? It's so
Hmm.
hard to be pure in this fucking world. Like, it's so hard to be pure, man, with someone you love, or just simply having a conversation with somebody and somebody else is overhearing it. It just makes it less pure because it's not free. So Getaway is about freedom with a partner.
Mm, beautiful. And I think one of the great things about music and art is that it can be that place where you can create that purity
Yeah,
because
totally,
it's
man.
only your expression and
Exactly, man.
you
I'm
don't feel.
so into purity, like big time, man. In
I mean,
every fucking way.
I gotta say that I find it fascinating when an artist like you can do something that it's so accessible, but it's also completely uncompromising. You're
Mm.
not in there, working with a room full of writers with one person doing the bridge and one person doing the pre-chorus, you
Fuck
know,
that.
right? And
Yeah, no, fuck
but
that.
it's just completely like it grabs you from the minute you hear it and you want to hear it again right away. So it's like
With
perfect.
Getaway specifically, do you think?
What's that?
With Getaway or with just my music
I'm
in
just
general?
talking about the album in general. I mean,
Sick, man.
there's a lot of different moods through it, but it just carries you along and it's so catchy and fun.
Yeah, man. You know what? I'm well into being accessible. Like, I actively made the choice for Freak Slug to be accessible.
Mm,
I used to make really lo-fi stuff that wasn't so accessible and like really like grungy and gritty and like cool for me. But I know that the world isn't cool, like doesn't have the taste for it necessarily, and I'm cool with that. Like, I'd rather my music be heard by more and make it more accessible than not. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that is something that I actively like have been aiming for.
comes through loud
Clarity.
and clear, but like I said, it's completely personal and uncompromising. I just think it's a tough balance to strike, and you hit it out of the park.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know what? I think like it's not tough for me. Of course, it's just me. Like, it's not hard for me to achieve it because it's just an expression of myself.
Right.
So it's effortless for me, but I guess maybe for somebody else it would be difficult. Just like
Yeah.
me making somebody else's music would be so hard because I'm just not in their mindset. But
Mm.
I'm quite like a tough little cookie, so I guess my music would sound like that too.
And then we have Hello.
Hello, yeah, yeah, that takes me to nice places, that one. That's yeah, again, just like romantic and about this girl that I fancied for a minute, like genuinely a month. And like fell in love, broke my heart, and I was like, fucking hell, that's done. And then that was it. I made the song and then literally over it within a month. I get like just over it straight away. So yeah, she just came into my life just for me to write that song, I think. What's next on the album?
Which?
Me asking you the order. Which, yeah, I wrote that about my one of my boyfriends. He actually passed away.
Oh, I'm
So
so
that's
sorry.
about him. Is he passed away like I don't know, like 8 years ago or something like that, maybe 10. No, wait, yeah, 10 years ago. So it's about that really. It's about going to a witch and he came through in a reading. It was so beautiful because I had never really processed his death. And then I started processing him after I saw the psychic. Do you know what I mean? Which was really cool. And she said that he's my guardian, like spirit guardian now. Like he looks
Mm.
after me and like he's very much involved in Freak Slug and like the music and he's helping me like get on the right path and stuff like that. So it's really exciting because he always believed in me. We had such a deep understanding and knowing of each other. So it's really nice to know that he's helping me in the spirit world.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Next, we have Piece of Cake.
Yeah, that one's really playful, and I think one of my favorites on the album. That song's about just like men who look so nice to eat. You think, oh, lovely, lovely little slice there, but actually tastes really bad. Just like, what? What the fuck is that recipe? Looking great with the cream. That sponge is not okay. That sponge is dry. Like, that is what that is about. It's about men who just can't seem to like hold a conversation. Like they don't seem to ask the right questions. They don't excite you, and you're like, dude, is this all me? Am I like carrying this right now? Like, excite me. So that song's about that.
It can happen in a bakery too. Sometimes it looks so good and then it's just not good.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
I'd rather make stuff that looks a little messy but tastes great.
They always taste better when they look a bit messy. Yeah. That's why I have a taste for. Yeah, I mean, my taste, if I had it my way, I like boys with like fucking rugged hair and like just a bit all over the place. That's my ideal taste, to be honest. Nothing too spick and spam.
Hmm.
There's something going wrong there, for me at least. Like, that's not a match for me.
Keeping too much hidden.
I just like them a bit rough, do you know what I mean? Like, not clean. Like, yeah, something about that. So, yeah, that's my ideal cake.
And then the album ends with Ugly Smile.
Yeah. So that's about. See, I write a lot. Can you tell I write a lot about my own experiences? Yeah. So that's is a song about my uh, friend. Her ex-boyfriend was a narcissist, man. Whew. Never seen such a thing. Like, yeah, wow. So that's just about somebody who's so charming because that's what narcissists do. They get you in like that. They grab you with the charm and they make you think they're great. But actually, behind that is an ugly smile. It's not
Hmm.
cute what they can do, how they can manipulate. They are about and they are evil. So stay clear. Definitely more talk on the red flags nowadays, which is cool. Whether or not people heed it or not is a different story, but
Mm.
I like that people are talking about what to stay clear from earlier and make decisions
Yeah,
quicker than quicker than we have before.
absolutely. So talking through the album, like you said, a lot of it is based on your personal experiences. Do you start with lyrics? This is the typical question. Do you start with
Right.
lyrics and then write the music to fit, or is it more organic somewhere in between?
Mission max, mix and max, whatever you call it, mix and whatever. Basically, I write in all the time on my phone, random stuff like on the journeys, on the trains, in the car, at concerts. I just get energy and I'm just like, yeah, this is a vibe. And then I just end up chatting shit on my phone. But usually, I start off with my acoustic guitar and I'll sing naturally with that. And that is how the song usually starts with me. That's how I write. Pretty like stripped back, and then once I gauge a vibe of just what comes naturally without forcing anything, then I'll consult the notes that I have, and then I'll be like, oh, this kind of fits. Let's work this in. So it's a bit intuitive, but it's a bit like, oh, let's see what I've got here in the vault. Something that's just I've already spent time on because I work quickly, as you can imagine by the way I'm
Mhm.
speaking. I don't like to waste time. I want to get that song done in an hour, maybe
Mhm.
less. I want to get the verse, the chorus, the bridge, the outro all done in an hour, and then I flesh it out. Yeah, that's kind of my writing process.
And going back to the beginning again, what kind of music was in your house growing up besides the other Manchester stuff? And
Yeah.
where did did somebody give you an acoustic guitar at a young age? Did it start that way?
It's funny that you ask that, really. No one's actually asked me about the music that was in my home. My mum brought me up solo, really, but my dad, I stopped seeing my dad when I was 12, so he had a really cool taste for Velvet Underground, Bob Dylan, like
Mm.
that kind of shit. He had that blasting in the car. But then with my mum, I'd be dancing around to ABBA and Madonna. We had like crazy cat hours, like how cats, before they're about to have a shit, they basically go crazy for an hour. Me and my mum, like, basically had the same thing. We'd call them the crazy cat hours, and we'd just fucking boogie about the room. I'd braid her hair, we'd sing Madonna and ABBA. So that was my mum's side of it. Not very alternative, to be honest. Pretty mainstream.
But
And
that kind of predicts the Freak Slug sound.
exactly, yeah,
Madonna
man. Like
smashed together with Velvet Underground. I love it.
it's just like let's go, like I'm here for it. So it was cool doing that. I really enjoyed boogieing with my mum actually. Like, yeah, karaoke weekly.
Well, when did you start making music yourself?
Yeah.
Was it
So
around that time?
15, maybe 14, friend sleepover party, girl called Cleo, whipped out a guitar, fucking started singing to us all. I was shocked. I was like, this is kind of cool. I within the week got my own guitar and started writing my own music. I was like, this is cool. I just went for it, learned some chords, wrote some songs straight away without even, do you know what I mean, thinking twice.
Absolutely
Never looked back.
incredible.
It's funny, really, the way life works. That
Yeah,
sleepover was my destiny.
totally.
Honestly, without that, don't know.
What comes next after the big tour?
Already writing new music, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm already halfway through the next album. Like, I'm just fucking on one. So, oh, that's a good question. I'm gonna go traveling in Mexico for a month for my birthday in January. That's gonna be cool because post album, you get really low. People don't talk about this a lot, but artists suffer from huge depressions post tours because the
Mhm.
highs you get from playing a show are like no other. It's like you can never reach that high again. So you have to bring joy to yourself all the time. But that takes effort because once you've reached the most blissful moments of your life, you know, it's like, you have to really work to make yourself happy and bring joy to your everyday life. So my plan is Mexico in January, right after the tour. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna soak up some sunshine in the middle of winter in England. It would be fucking horrible. So I'm avoiding that completely, running away with my best friend, and we're going Mexico.
Well, I think that's fantastic. I think it's a great place to end. Find joy how you can,
Yeah,
even when you're not on stage.
yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Xenia, for talking to me today. And
Thanks, Jeremy.
it was
It's
great to
been
meet
great.
you. Yeah, I hope to see you at Baby's All Right.
Yeah, you're gonna be there.
I'm doing my best to get there.
All right, coolio, man. See ya.
I know you like it when I say your name.
So there you have it, the world according to Freak Slug. Get to her album, I Blow Out Big Candles, on November 8th. She is on tour throughout November in the UK and then coming to the US in December, first playing in LA December 3rd and 5th, And then in Brooklyn, Baby's All Right on December 7th. That's where I'll be. December 8th, Union Pool is sold out. The final show before she flies to Mexico on her relaxation trip is at Shuba's Tavern in Chicago, December 10th. Buy tickets now because they're going to keep on selling, especially after the album comes out. Moving on, the first album I want to talk about this month is one that is hard to talk about, but impossible not to. This is Box of Dark Roses, the final album from Mope Grooves, a Portland band led by Stevie, full name Stevie Pullman, but she just went by the name Stevie, a trans activist, underground music phenomenon who had released 4 albums before this and conceived of this album completely as a 27-song double album that should be played in full. I can't advocate enough for that. It's immersive, involving. Some of it is very left of center. Others sounds like perfect pop. But it's all just a little bit musically off, charming, with hints of the Raincoats and other late 70s, early 80s post-punk bands. Just a really wonderful album, the final album from Mope Grooves. Please listen now to an excerpt from Pieces of God from Box of Dark Roses.
Pieces of God leaking from the ceiling. Pieces of God weeping down my hair. Pieces of God falling off the wall, calling my name. Pieces of God.
That was Pieces of God by Mope Grooves, their final album, Box of Dark Roses. Rest in peace, Stevie. As she puts it in her extraordinary liner notes, if I'm ever hard to get a hold of, you can find my whole heart in here. I feel that in this record, and I look forward to going back through the discography because I admit that I was unfamiliar until the promotional email came in my inbox about this album, and I was completely captivated when I listened. Next, we have the 5th album from Nap Eyes. This is a Canadian band that I first got into in 2016 with their album Thought Rock Fish Scale. I got to see them live the next year when they opened for Car Seat Headrest. Really good band. Their last album in 2020 didn't make a huge impression on me, however, but their new one, The Neon Gate, is their best yet. It's detailed, expansive, some odd moments, new textures. I feel a new confidence, and the lead guitar playing is just incredible. You'll hear some of that in this excerpt from Isolation by Nap Eyes.
I should say it's more like 2 or 3 hours later it just floated away.
That's Isolation, the last track on the Neon Gate by Nap Eyes. And it's a great journey to get to that track, so I highly encourage you to take the whole trip. Speaking of a trip, we're going to now head to Seattle. From Nova Scotia to Seattle, to the band Black Ends. They define their genre as gunk pop, so much so that they even bought the URL for gunkpop.com. Well, sure then, let's hear some gunk pop, why don't we? This is the debut album of Black Ends. They've been around for a bit. The core trio is Nicole Swims, Ben Swanson, and Billy Jessica Payne. Vocals, guitar, bass, and drums consecutively, but they also all play a bunch of different instruments, including oud and baroque guitar. They have some extra players on here too, including Laurie Goldston on cello, who played with Nirvana, Eric Paget on French horn, and a bunch of people screaming on one track. Let's hear an excerpt from Black's Lullaby by Black Ends. Gunk pop, here it comes.
I must be a parasite. Exhaust me. No bet you make it out alive. But you take my love. You're taking my love. Taking my love, taking my love away.
Black Ends. Psychotic Spew, the song Black's Lullaby. It's a great album. You'll find lots of gunk among the pop and lots of pop among the gunk. Next we have Second Grade's latest album, Scheduled Explosions. Their 2022 album, Easy Listening, was one that I would characterize as power pop. This one is a little bit different than that. While the songs are still short and filled with bursts of guitar and driving rhythms and sunny vocals, there's a conceptual edge to Scheduled Explosions, with song titles like Instant Nostalgia, Like Otis Redding, King of Marvin Gardens, Like a Wild Thing, American Rhythm, Jingle Jangle Nuclear Meltdown, 68 Comeback. It starts to become almost a critical referendum on the music of the 60s and our inability to get away from it. In fact, the lyrics to the song we're going to hear end with the lines, "History is written by winners, the losers write power pop, and it's all about you." And that's the name of the song we're going to hear from Second Grade from their new album, Scheduled Explosions, right now on Discover Music with an Earful. By Second Grade from their new album, Scheduled Explosions. Their references to the 60s do not only extend to song titles and lyrics, but also to clever musical hints. The song Like a Wild Thing uses the chords from Wild Thing by the Troggs, famously covered by Jimi Hendrix. And Crybaby Semiconductor takes the riff from Paperback Writer by the Beatles and kind of drives it into the ground over the course of about 1 minute. Some of the songs are very short, adding to the collage-like, half-remembered feel of the album, which is very much in the zeitgeist. Intriguingly, they doubled down on the lo-fi rather than continuing with the cleaner sound of the last album. It's a really good record. The main man behind Second Grade is Peter Gill, plays guitar, bass, and drums, and adds vocals. His main supporters are Catherine Dwyer, who also adds vocals and guitar, and John Samuels on guitar. But Gill is really someone to watch. Clever songwriter, good singer, does everything really well. Next, we're going to have a band called A Place to Bury Strangers, something that I was aware of but had never really listened to, and this is now their 7th album. It's called Synthesizer. And one thing I love about it is that there's an actual synthesizer built in to the LP, and they used that exact same type of synthesizer to create some of the sounds on the record. So let's hear a sample from Synthesizer by A Place to Bury Strangers. This is Have You Ever Been in Love? Whoa, that will clear the dust off your woofers and tweeters, clean out your ears with Synthesizer from A Place to Bury Strangers, the song Have You Ever Been in Love? This is the trio of Oliver Ackerman, John Fedowitz, and Sandra Fedowitz. You can make some of those noises yourself if you buy the physical product and get the synthesizer that's included. We're going to mellow things out a little with the first solo album by Josh Kaufman. Kaufman is a great guitarist, multi-instrumentalist, producer, arranger. He has worked with everyone from Grateful Dead founder Bob Weir, The National, The Hold Steady, The War on Drugs, and even artists that I like Hiss Golden Messenger, This Is the Kit, Cassandra Jenkins, and my friend Richard O'Fritchdig. Kaufman is also 1/3 of Bonnie Light Horseman, whose debut album was one of the best of 2020, and they've subsequently put out 2 other great records. But this is the first time he's put something out under his own name. The album is called What Do the People in Your Head Say to Each Other? And it came out of a stalled studio session where Kaufman had assembled all these artists, including J.T. Bates, a great drummer, Stuart Bogey, the sax and flute player, fantastic musicians. They were all there. Something went wrong. There was a glitch of some kind. Kaufman pivoted, used the time to create something new. You won't hear any of those wailing guitar solos that I used to see him do with His Golden Messenger, but what you will hear is a kind of cinematic Americana, layers of guitars and keyboards, gently pulsating grooves. It really points in a new direction for Kaufman. I could see this becoming soundtrack music. Music sync, people. Take note. We're going to hear Blanklet from Josh Kaufman's What Do the People in Your Head Say to Each Other? Blanklet by Josh Kaufman from his album What Do the People in Your Head Say to Each Other? Here's hoping something else goes wrong in the studio for Kaufman, because what turned out this time is oh so right. Next we have Caroline Says, the project of Caroline Sally. Her last album was No Fool Like an Old Fool back in 2018, just a beautiful folk rock record. It followed 50 Million Elvis Fans Can't Be Wrong from 2017, and you can tell that she likes to use these references to other artists, I think a little bit as a defense, because her songs are very revealing and vulnerable, and the new album feels even less guarded than ever. She writes, plays, and produces everything you hear, and she is a very canny arranger. The song we're going to hear is called Dust, and it'll take you a minute to realize all the little layers of things that are going on. So have a listen to an excerpt from Dust by Caroline Says, her new album, The Lucky One.
I put the sting in the sip when I get there to keep my head from spinning around. I never told you when you got the words wrong, it didn't matter. I liked you singing along. And the dust looked like fog when I wanted to see the Davis. In the hotel room, I couldn't see that far.
Wasn't that just absolutely gorgeous? Dust from The Lucky One by Caroline Says, her long-awaited third album, and I would say we are the lucky ones indeed to have it. I've never seen her in concert, and I just noticed she's playing at Heaven Can Wait on the Lower East Side on January 11th. I put that on my calendar. Hopefully I can get there. She really is a remarkable artist, and it's a beautiful album. Next we have Flying Needle. This is the musical name of Timothy Griffiths, who was formerly in a band called Antiques. I was not familiar with them, but their stuff is actually pretty cool. They broke up around 2011, and he didn't really make music for quite a while until he was gifted an old spinet piano, which he loaded into his basement in Philadelphia and just started making songs on it. In a very brief time, he had assembled an album of songs called Bronze Age. You can hear the piano on some of the tracks, but there's a lot of warm synth, sort of mellotron-like sounds. He plays most of the instruments on here. It really is great stuff, though. Now we're going to hear an excerpt from Never Was Chrysalis by Timothy Griffiths, a.k.a. Flying Needle, from his album Bronze Age.
Telling you your time has passed.
Never Was Chrysalis by Flying Needle from his album Bronze Age. Griffiths writes lyrics that are philosophical, personal, political, really runs the gamut, puts words together in a very fine way. The last stanza of that song says, "We have to learn to love the little world. We must exist in that little world. Before we know it, our work is done. The coffee is cold and the tune is sung." Put on this record and sing along to Flying Needle, Bronze Age. Really beautiful, beautiful album. Chris Maxwell is a name I say every episode because he was 1/3 of the Droplets who created my theme song. He is also a fantastic guitarist, singer, songwriter, producer. He really does everything. He is known for being part of the production duo Elegant 2, who made music for the show Bob's Burgers. Really has been around a lot. A few years ago, he released a wonderful album called New Store Number 2. I liked it a lot. And now he's back with Nothingland. To give you an idea of what a great crew Maxwell assembled here, we have Cindy Cash Dollar on lap steel, Nels Klein on guitars, Marco Benevento on keyboards. These are all some of the best at what they do. Just incredible musicians all throughout. And of course, Holly Miranda and Ann Parsley are here to lend vocal support. So let's hear an excerpt from I Wish I Could See It Coming by Chris Maxwell from Nothingland.
Gust that blows you off your feet like a punch in the face that you have to embrace. We are all tossed into the wind, and the poor simple heart is guessing from the start how the whole thing will end. I hear the bells outside ringing. I wish I knew what they were ringing for. Or do they simply give in, get pushed by the wind, playing melodies never heard before? And know exactly when the rain would fall. But the clouds keep a secret, no one knows where they keep it. The unexpected trenches are so.
I Wish I Could See It Coming by Chris Maxwell from his fine new album Nothingland. Take a trip there as soon as you are able. Now we come to the last track on this month's episode. You're going to hear a little more of Spells by Freak Slug from the debut album I Blow Out Big Candles coming November 8th. Give a listen right now to Spells. Really fun track. Just delightful. Spells by Freak Slug. I know it cast a spell on me as soon as I heard it. I called it dance pop with a post-punk edge. I just love it. So much fun. Get to the album when it comes out. Do not hesitate. And we've come to the end of October's episode. I'm so thankful to you for getting this far. All the music you heard has been ethically sourced from the artists and labels. Many thanks to them. Find links to them and everything else discussed in the show notes, which also includes a Spotify playlist so you can hear everything we talked about in full. The interstitial tracks are by me, circa 1984 to 1986, with Andy Gilchrist on occasional guitar. Thanks as always to The Droplets, Holly Miranda, Ann Parsley, and Chris Maxwell for my theme song. You can find me at anearful.substack.com, as well as all the socials. Please share, rate, and review this podcast, and subscribe to it so you get it every month. That's the only way we can continue growing this movement to reveal the finest music of our time. This has been Discover Music with an Earful for October 2024. I'm Jeremy Shatton. Thanks so much for listening. See you next month.
Musical joy, running in every direction. It'll be a very long time until you know what I wanna show